I've had a good look around the pros bikes already here at the Santos Tour Down Under, but I think I should go back inside the mechanics' tent to see if they unearth anything else, which so far I haven't been able to see. So come on, join me for this. I'm here with the bike of John Dibben of Lotto Soudal, a rider who's pretty tall. He's about 1.88 m to 1.90 m. This is a large frame, but before he decided to actually use the large, he was riding a medium just to see how it felt. Sadly, it wasn't long enough, but the head tube on it was absolutely spot on because he likes to have a nice slam position, as you can see. So he went back to a size large, and then he's got a stem on there now which has a slight negative rise on it. Well, it's a fall, so it's not a rise, to enable him to try and get as low as he can. And the mechanic then has also taken off the standard top cap cover of the bearing, because the bearing on these frames does actually slightly poke out of the frame like they do on most integrated headsets. So there's a different type of cap on the top. I'm not exactly sure what that is. I'll have to ask Stephen, the mechanic, to show me at some point. I don't want to disturb him too much, but it's really great to see how riders have to fit onto bikes or try and make a bike fit them in different scenarios, because slamming the stem isn't necessarily that popular, but for a rider like Dibben from a track background, he's used to riding in a pretty aggressive position. And his track background and pedigree has also probably led to his decision making when it comes to crank length. So he's gone for a 170. And I honestly thought he had gone for a 175, at least a 172.5, just purely because of the length of his legs and probably his femurs too. Pretty sure they're quite long on him. So I will ask him later on when I see him at dinner to ask him why he's gone for 170s. And also, his release tension on these pedals, the Look Keo carbon blades, is 20 Newton meters. So again, slightly higher from the standard of a 16 Newton meter. Can you guess what's in here? No, you can't, can you? Well, maybe someone has, a very lucky person out there, because in here is the secret to less waste in this world, because no one likes to waste things, do they? So I'm going to reveal the ginormous roll of Celeste handlebar tape of the Jumbo Visma squad. Now, this is provided by FSA, and essentially when teams are using various different handlebars, different widths, different shapes, riders wanting handlebars taped up to certain points, this minimises waste because they can simply run it off of one big roll, so they don't have to use a standard roll, which sometimes you're not going to get through. Great idea, that, and well, in my favourite colour. The squad of Bora Hansgrohe have actually had some special derailleur hangers manufactured for them, and I had a quick word earlier on to the mechanic, and he said it was actually at the request of Peter Sagan. So traditionally the derailleur hanger would come down and then you would attach it with one of these Shimano dual race rear derailleurs, but normally they have two links, but this is a direct mount fit. So this derailleur hanger is essentially a little bit more backwards, so a little bit further to the back of the bike, and attaches and has less pivots in the shifting system. So it's going to give you snappier shifting and also more accurately placed or positioned beneath the sprockets. Apparently they had loads and loads of different ones to trial, and each one varied by a millimetre or two until they got the optimum one. I really like that. It's mechanics like this who I love to actually sit down and chat with, because they let me into all these little secrets. When it comes to pros wanting certain tech on their bike, well, what they want, they don't necessarily always get. So on the bike here of Jonas Rutske of EF Pro Cycling, well, he obviously wants to have himself an aero pair of handlebars and possibly a one-piece integrated unit, but judging by the length of this FSA stem on his bike there, it's an absolute whopper. I'd probably say it's about 160, maybe even 170 long. FSA probably don't actually make an integrated bar in that setup. So he's got that stem, he's put a pair of normal aero bars on there, so you know, an aerofoil shaped design, and then he's got the brake hoses along with the Di2 cables here just popping out the back, which doesn't look ideal in my mind, because if you had an integrated setup, of course it's going to be a lot smoother, a lot cleaner, but the mechanic has still done a great job with this heat shrink bit of tubing. Another thing as well is that the riders, or some of them at least, are training on clincher tyres here, which when you're joining a new team, we have a new bike, new equipment for the year, may not be
totally ideal because obviously you want to get used to how the bike handles when you're out and about. But the good news is there is a criterium ahead of the actual race, which takes place on the Sunday previous to the race, which means the riders at least can test that equipment in, well, kind of good testing conditions, if you like, because there's nothing like testing equipment during a criterium. I absolutely love a number mount on a bike. I always have a look around to see exactly what the teams are doing differently from one another. And well, the team of Bora Hansgrohe, they've got a 3D printed one on here, but it doesn't look like it's actually been made for this specific seat post because there's quite a bit of gap around the sides there, really, and it's almost designed that the seat post should be not quite as deep and it should just sit in there a little bit differently. I'll have a word to the mechanic. I'll also have a look at their other bikes too. I should have done that really before filming this little segment, but I was desperate to get this bike out into the sunshine, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, I think this sort of thing, that would do my OCD right in. There's just one team using Michelin tyres in the World Tour this year, and that's the squad of Cofidis. And the tyres themselves, I really like the look of them. They remind me of the old Vittoria Corsa CXs, if you can remember those, anyone. They've got a nice smooth centre tread, and then the outside is just a file-like pattern. If you look at it, though, in the right angle, it almost looks like a herringbone style, but no, it is a file pattern. Inside of the carcass of these tubular tyres, there is a latex inner tube, which to try and keep the weight down, try and lower rolling resistance. And the weight of these in 25mm is just 290 grams. And if all of that is not enough to make you like them, well, there's a little Bibendum on there too, and he's the Michelin logo. A lovely looking chap. Right, 5 of the 7 riders of the Movistar team have gone pretty futuristic, if you like, because they're using these saddles from Physique in combination with a brand called Carbon from California to use these 3D printed saddles. So it takes a standard base, so the shell of the saddle is a standard Physique one, and then on the top we've got this kind of hexagonal structure which has been made, and I'm not sure if they can actually produce them to be sort of higher density in certain areas and everything to try and relieve pressure, but certainly when you look at it you think to yourself that's going to be really hard to the touch. But have a little look at this. I'm going to do it on my friend Gabs Calais' bike because I know he watches the channel, so yeah, you can tell me off for touching his saddle, but here we go. It's actually really soft to the touch, surprisingly, and it's you almost feel like there's some gel in there or something, but there's not. It's just spongy there on your outside of your bum cheeks or your buttocks, and then here it's actually a little bit firmer. It's a really great bit of kit. I'll have to try and get myself one of those. Can I borrow your Allen key? All right. Awkward. Fitted down here on the fork leg of this Reacto bike from Merida is a cooling fin. Now, if ever you've taken apart an electrical component at home, or maybe you're not like me, sometimes you actually see these inside, and it's just to try and get the heat away from certain components. And in the case here, it's to try and get the heat away from the disc brake pads as well as the rotor to try and, well, give you better braking really, so you don't get overheating rotors. Now, it's said to actually reduce the heat by about 35%. It's interesting though, they haven't put it on the Sculptura bike. It's just on the Reacto, the Aero road race machine. It's the first time I've actually seen this being used, and it's an interesting bit of kit. There we are, more hot tech from the bikes of the pros in the World Tour. Let me know down there in the comments section what the favourite bit of tech is for you. And why not check out the GCN app? So go on over to the App Store or the Google Play Store where you can download it. And don't forget, check out the GCN shop at shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com. And remember to share this video with your buddies. And why not give it a thumbs up? Now, for 2 more absolutely brilliant videos, click just down here and just down here. See you later.